Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra, and if you have not done so, please do subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up a new video. Today I want to share with you two articles from NOAA that I think everyone should know about, that should be common knowledge. They're concerning climate change in the Great Lakes, but even if you don't live near the Great Lakes, you should still know these articles. Because they're going to show you that wherever you live, if you feel like the weather or the climate has changed over your lifetime, radically so in unsettling ways, but yet everybody seems to be ignoring it, these articles will help validate what you suspect. And what you suspect is being ignored by your local news media outlets and by the national media as well. I believe largely due to the power and influence of the fossil fuel industry and petrochemicals. So today, from NOAA, Great Lakes ice cover decreasing over the last 40 years. By Tom Liberto, July 9th, 2018. Now that article is going to cite an even earlier article, which was published, I believe, around in 2010. And my point for grabbing these two is to show you this is nothing new. But look, Great Lakes ice cover decreasing over the last 40 years. Now, if you grew up in one of these areas that used to have a consistent, frozen, cold winter, and now you're faced with winters that are mild or cold and rainy, and the lakes don't freeze, and you know it's changed, but yet the people around you, many of them seem to be, oh, come on. Well, this says it's true. So lake ice is in decline. It's not your imagination. A downward trend since the 1970s in the annual maximum extent of Great Lakes ice cover. The greatest ice declines have been in Lake Superior, Huron, St. Clair, and Lake Erie. So it depends on which lake you live near or what body of water you live near to how drastic the changes might seem to you and how old you are. Back to the article. Even at winter maximum, most lakes normally remain at least somewhat uniced. In particular, the middle of Lakes Ontario and Lake Michigan remain an average of 80 to 90% ice-free at winter maximum. But, in contrast, Lake Erie, a shallower lake, is normally 70% ice-covered by late winter. But, I want you to notice something, that this describes what's normal ice conditions. But think about it. As climate change progresses, as global warming progresses, the goalpost of what scientists consider normal begins to shift. And then because scientists like to speak in exacting accuracy, that shifting normal is going to be used by the denial industry as more evidence. Look, we don't know what's going on. Back to the article. The trend in ice cover over the lakes since 1973 is downward. And as I showed you in my other video, according to NASA and NOAA, Arctic ice is in decline. 2, according to the articles, the onset of ice is later and the ice breakup is earlier. The onset of first ice cover on inland lakes in the region is later than during the middle of the 19th century. And the breakup of ice in the spring is earlier. 3, lakes have warmed faster than the surrounding air. And that's similar to what we've talked about with the Arctic warming faster than the rest of the planet. Summer, meaning July to September, surface water temperatures on Lake Superior increased approximately 4.5 Fahrenheit from 1979 to 2006. Declining winter ice cover is the largest driving factor. So point 4, loss of ice creates regional feedback or amplification. Just like on the planetary scale, that loss of Arctic ice is creating planet-wide amplification or feedback of global warming and climate change. So the heating takes on a life of its own, going beyond the simple billions of tons of annual carbon we dump into the air each year. Shorter winters and open lake water and earlier spring amplify the effects of warmer summer air temperatures, according to the article. Another way that the heating lakes and heating water bodies changes our surrounding environment. More open water means moisture can be picked up and turned into lake effect precipitation. Remember, I told you earlier, hotter air masses hold more moisture. Hotter water bodies give up more. So you can see heavier rains and heavier snows even. Or you can see very dry conditions because of those hotter air masses. So despite the overall planet's heating conditions, you can still get heavy lake effect storms because of that, the more moist air conditions. Also, and the warmer lake, it gives up more moisture for those cold air to pick up. And also, the Arctic, the heating Arctic, is throwing off the jet stream. So sometimes the cold Arctic air just wafts further south than it used to, even though that Arctic is hotter. And that gets me to point 4, how the global warming is affecting our lives here and now. A lot of times the media just likes to portray global warming as something off in the distance to worry about. And many environmental groups who I support often just like to campaign with images of polar bears. And the problem is, no, it's us, not just non-human animals. Hotter lakes are degrading and altering our natural ecosystems. Many ecosystems depend on ice cover in different ways. This is coming from the articles. Plankton are more resilient when protected by a layer of ice. Whitefish use ice cover to protect their eggs from big winter storms. Cold water fish species like trout will be forced to compete with warm water species migrating north with rising temperatures. Oxygen can become depleted in the lakes, leading to dead zones. And with increased nutrient loading and stronger storms, we get toxic algae blooms. Now, toxic algae blooms make water toxic for people, and it's a result of these warming lakes. And the what they call the nutrient loading with the warmer lakes create the conditions for that. Even the nutrient loading can be, what they call nutrient loading, can be affected by the climate change. How so? Well, one form of nutrient loading, in addition to agricultural runoff, is human waste runoff from the sewage. So when you get these heavy floods, it washes in more from the agricultural areas, the fertilizers, and it also washes in more from the sewers. So the lakes get loaded with more nutrients due to climate change, potentially, and the lakes are warmer, creating better conditions for these toxic algae blooms. And one last point about the lakes, the Great Lakes region, with the warmer winters now, is a lot of these areas are now crawling with disease-bearing ticks. And that's another thing important to keep in mind. If you're from those regions, you might remember in your childhood, you could go out and play in those woods without fear of ticks. Now you can't. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. How these buried, underreported scientific articles back up your suspicion that, yes, things have changed and are changing rapidly. That global warming is going from just us adding tons and tons of greenhouse trapping gases by the excessive burning of fossil fuels to taking on a life of its own through amplification and feedback. And how the news media just overlooks it, perhaps because of their ties to the fossil fuel industry or not wanting to offend people because of the power of that denial industry. And instead they cover this freakish weather. It's nothing to be gleeful about. Oh, look at this 60 degree day in the middle of winter. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please remember to subscribe to my channel. Please like, please comment, click that notification bell so you know I'm putting up a new video. Consider supporting a PayPal or Patreon. And until next time, peace be with you.